Hey folks, hope you guys are having a good night. Let's get this show on the road here, and we will play a little bit of Final Fantasy II. I think I'm on the last level, which is Hell. And the final boss, I think, is Satan himself. So it's a great way to end an epic game as you fight the devil himself. That's why I kind of like Diablo. Well, I don't kind of like. I like Diablo. But I like that the final boss of Diablo is literally the devil. You know, you literally destroy the devil at the end of Diablo. And then I think if you play Diablo, Diablo 3, the expansion is where you kill Death himself, you know? So good stuff, good fun stuff. Big news from, I guess, the last couple days is Gina Carano getting fired. I did a little video on that. So you can watch that if you want my take on that. I kind of saw this coming because it's, you know, people were kind of shocked because she was giving very normie-con, not even normie-con, just like normie moderate takes, you know, not even conservative at all, really. She's probably not particularly, I mean, anyone to the right of Mao now is now like Nazi. And so pointing out, hey, you know, this is what the Nazis did. And it's like, fired forever, you'll never work again. You certainly won't get cast in our latest movie about how bad the Hollywood blacklists were. You won't get cast for that. So, and my protein shake. I just got done with my workout. To like cram in a 20-minute workout. Yes, I'm doing Final Fantasy 3 after this. Yes. I'm doing the 3D remake version of Final Fantasy 3. Now, there's a couple reasons why I'm doing that, and that's mainly because that's like one of the only ways to play Final Fantasy 3 in English. Unless you're going to play like a translation mod of the NES version, which requires, I don't know. I think it requires like a completely different setup with a ROM or different emulator, because the character set is one of the reasons that the original Final Fantasy has such a weird script, is that you had fewer characters to work with. In English, it takes more characters to communicate the same ideas compared to Japanese. In Japanese, every character represents a syllable, other than, you know, there's like vowels, and there's the letter in, you know, is a letter. So it's a lot more efficient. Plus, you can use kanji, whereas a single character, Chinese character, can communicate an entire word rather than just, you know, having to have like a long word. It could be just like one character. So it's a lot more efficient. And so I think the translation mod, that like it requires like a different emulator or something. I don't know. You can correct me on that if you know anything about that. But I was like, I don't want to mess with that. We'll play the official 3D version. So I think we're on the last level. It looks pretty cool. Graphics are cool. New music, which is good. So far, I've really liked Final Fantasy II. I do think there's a couple of small issues with the systems. I think most people that I know of didn't like the leveling system. I shouldn't say most people. I keep hearing about how bad the leveling system was of Final Fantasy II. I actually think it's a great leveling system, but you have to know how it works. It's kind of like Oblivion. You level up skills, you don't just get levels and then your character's stronger. And that's kind of cool because you can really customize your party very finely, including like what magic they have. And because of that, if you know how the system works, the game is probably tuned a little bit too easy. And so that's one of the things in this like final dungeon is I'm purposefully leveling magic on two of the characters that have Osmos and can basically have infinite mana. Just because I'm like, well, I feel like the last boss is going to have a lot of physical resist. That's the only thing, is like your attacks are super powerful until you get to high level enemies, and then they just like don't hit hard, or they hit for 0. Then you need magic to kind of overcome that. Anyway, someone says, my sister said her firing was justified. God help me. Yeah. Thank you, Bear. I tried to make a good video on this, but it's basically, that's it. Is like, it's not going to matter that much to the mouse because normies, frankly, aren't in the fight yet. They will be eventually because you can't avoid it. So normie Christians are going to have to, you know, bear the weight of their faith or be content slinking away and pretending to be something they aren't, or becoming something they aren't. That's eventually how it is. And you can see Chris Pratt, they're setting him up. He'll be fired. I think they may still have him for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but then he'll be fired. And the reason Chris Pratt will be fired is because he's not vocal about his faith. He's not vocal about anything, but he's also not vocal about being a left-wing lunatic. So if you are not actively promoting left-wing lunacy, if you aren't actively saying the creed towards Augustus, however you want to call it, then you are unpersoned. So that's the next thing, is that you have to say the creed, not just oh, there we go. There it is. Okay, for some reason I'm not hearing it. There we go. Okay, there it is. Yeah, you have to say the creed or you're not going to be able to work. So Chris Pratt, my prediction is he'll be the next one fired. They'll probably produce Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because there'll be executives that are like, we got to finish this movie. James Gunn will be like, no, I'm not going to fire him because he's been cool to me. And then he'll probably just turn on him again. Chris Pratt went to bat for James Gunn, but James Gunn will play for the party, in my opinion. So that's what we'll get, because Chris Pratt won't actively bend the knee, if you will. And so that's going to be what's up with that. So he's the next one on the chopping block as far as I'm concerned. And he's pretty much like a normie guy. He's a normie Christian guy, Protestant guy. He's not like Warrior Orthobro or something like you see online. He's just a normal guy. And that's not going to be good enough, is the next thing. So again, once that's acceptable and that doesn't have consequences, they just get emboldened and they'll shrink it down. Less and less people can get it. Yeah, Gina's going to be blacklisted. Hopefully, like, she's got her money already squared away good enough that she'll be okay. What was I doing here? Oh yeah, I was going to use an ether. I have a lot of ethers, so I think I have enough ether to get through the final level here. Oh no, I was going to use eye drops. Where are they? Eye drops. Anyway, that's my prediction. Hope you guys are having a great night despite that. I had a good talk with my wife today about, like, Disney. It's just like, we remember Disney being good, but it's like, when's the last time a really good Disney movie came out? It's like, I don't really know, I don't have faith in them coming out with good stuff in the future. Chris Pratt's talked about his Christianity at times, but he's not talked about his political views. I mean, we're going to just approach the point where, like, I know that they... right now they have Biden and they really pretend pretty hard that he's Catholic. If you haven't caught on, they'll show the same picture of him sitting in the back at Mass. The same picture with, like, the same people in the same pews. They're like, Joe Biden went to Mass this morning. It's like, this is a picture from last year, bro. And, like, I'm pretty sure they don't give him communion because he's an avowed abortionist, That's kind of where we're at with this. Watch, like, I can osmose this chick here, this Astaroth chick. Just keep hitting her with Ultima. And I'll give him a... either. Yeah, if they wrote off Star-Lord or killed him, yeah, it's less messy than firing him. But it's the same thing. It's one of those things where it's like, train your replacement. When they write you off of a show, they're like, you're fired and you still have to work for us right now. No, you're not collecting your things out of your desk. First, you're going to teach your replacement how to do your job for less money, and then we're going to have security escort you to the door. It's like a humiliation kind of thing. I can't imagine being a character and getting written off a show unless you were, like, the one to choose it. It would just be, like, awful feeling. Now, this actually reminds me of a story. Which is that... so, Star Trek fans are really big fans of things. Star Trek fans are responsible for getting... who is it who played the Doctor on TNG? I can't remember the actress's name. They fired her because she wasn't. If you watch that first season of Next Generation, she's not acting very good. Like her acting, she was a choreographer. So she wasn't. Her acting chops kind of weren't there, and there was a letter writing campaign to get her back on the show. To get Beverly Crusher back on the show. And let's see what we want to do here. We'll hit us up here. And it worked. They responded because Star Trek fans did a letter writing campaign to get the first movie made and the second because the first one flopped. Kind of funny. Every Christian will have to ask himself some tough moral questions like, am I willing to lie to eat? Yeah, and this is a thing. And then you should prepare for some of those eventualities so that you don't have to do that. But I think someone was an atheist in the comments and was like, what does an atheist do? It's like, well, you have to decide what your principles are worth, what are your principles worth? Like if there's no consequence for you lying, then just pretend to be whatever is convenient. I don't really understand the problem. If you think your principles are somehow worth dying for, how can you call yourself a-religious? You have a religion at that point. You have a creed that you're living by. Pratt's gone. Yeah, Bradford, I agree. Because of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, because it lacks the entire cast to make room for cheaper, far more compliant talent. This is another thing, too, is they're going to want to... I don't know if they'll kill... I mean, they may not just make more Guardians movies because it's the same thing with the TV series. You notice that TV series always get worse, like season after season. And the big reason, if you want to know the big reason for that, is the writers basically get fired and move on because the writers create the quality of the show. The actors demand more money, and to keep the money machine going, you're going to fire the writers and hire cheaper writers that aren't as good because nobody notices the writers being gone. Nobody remembers even who wrote the scripts. It's not like an author on a book. So the actors, like with Friends, their salaries kept going up and up to where they were earning like $200,000 per episode. And we want Ultima. But the writers kept getting switched out, so the quality of the show went down and down and down and down and down because each year the writers, any of the good ones, they can get a better job. And so you just hire more guys out of grad school who have never actually written anything and are completely unprepared for the business, and you just like throw them in a writer's room and hope that they come out with some good crap. And then they never do. So yeah, they save money. But I could see them trying to save money on actors just for the same reason. Especially if Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is not like a giant freaking hit somehow. Which, I mean, in a post-COVID world, who knows? I can't really predict what's going to hit and what's going to fail in a post-COVID world. Gates McFadden, thank you, Lukov. Wasn't Gates not in season 2? Yeah, she wasn't. So they wrote her off, they fired her, and they replaced her. They replaced the character. The other character that got written off after season 1 was the one who played the security officer. She wanted out. She didn't enjoy doing the show, and she said it was like the biggest mistake of her career was like quitting the show. But yeah, they fired Gates, and the letter writing campaign brought her back because they understood that like the money's in the fans, and so if you keep the fans happy, you're going to be pretty good. I think what did I get from her? Did we get a weapon? We got something out of there that was like good. Wow, that's actually better than what I have. Weird. But it's not a sword, so I'm not going to use it. Did we get we got all the Genji armor, I think. Genji gloves, dragon armor, Genji helm. Yeah, we got all the Genji armor, so I don't remember what dropped out of that chest a few hours ago. Should have TNG to play Jack Ryan's wife. And her scenes got cut. Oh! This is the PSP remake. Yes, Brian. Someone said in the Trek comment section that Gates McFadden told him her secret to looking young was killing and eating children. Steve Carell was able to leave the office clean because his contract was up and wasn't able to renegotiate his contract. Yeah. I never really got into The Office, so my mom really liked it, I think. I hate TV shows that drag on forever with no conclusion. Yeah, that's my problem with series. I've talked about it before. There's one of the reasons I like Star Trek compared to most series is that it's episodic. So each episode is its own thing. So because you have a self-contained story every week, you never have that problem where like they're trying to drag things on. It feels a lot more natural. Things just, they don't fall apart as easily. I'm trying to get Ultima level 12. That would be nice, but I don't think it's going to happen. Let's do Aura. I want to level his Aura up. Yeah, Babylon 5 was good, but I haven't watched it in 20 years. But it did have a definite end in mind from the get-go. And it is more influential. I agree, Bradford. And it's a great show. If you've never watched Babylon 5, it's a great show. Really classic 90s sci-fi. It's TNG, Deep Space Nine, Babylon 5. I'm trying to remember when Firefly is one of these things. That's a Joss Whedon show, and he's in the news too. Where was it the pilot? Anyway, the pilot was really bad, and so no one ended up watching the first season, even though the show got way better after that pilot. I didn't see the new Twin Peaks. Didn't watch Black Mirror. Yeah. Now, Deep Space Nine is interesting because its quality didn't really pick up until the third season, after TNG ended and a bunch of the talent kind of filtered over into Deep Space Nine, including like Worf. Like Worf became a character and just kind of was a great character to add into the cast. But I think the writers, you had a lot of people involved in TNG coming over to direct, including, a lot of people. Jonathan Frakes. Who's the actor who played Geordie LaForge? I'm spacing on his name right now, but yeah, you had him doing episodes. It was really high quality, and then it had the final season was just like a great season of sci-fi TV. It was just great space opera and stuff. It was great. They just remastered Babylon 5 for HD, but kept the aspect ratio on some services now. I saw an interview with Bruce Boxleiter promoting it just after. Okay, interesting. I haven't watched it in a long time. Yeah, most of the complaints about Joss Whedon are about him being an asshole, but I also think he's not nearly as talented as people give him credit for. He's not terrible, like he knows what he's doing, but all of his dialogue is kind of this snarky late 90s dialogue. And he was a script doctor on Waterworld, fun fact, and then they like fired him because of how bad he was. They like hated his... Kevin Costner refused to say Joss Whedon's lines. I think it kind of saved, because it's like, he's like, this isn't a comedy. It's like, why are we cracking jokes all the time? This is supposed to be like a more serious movie. That's why Dennis Hopper stuff is funny and Kevin Costner's just like deadpan the whole time. But somehow it works. I like Waterworld. This guy is weak to thunder. Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad was mostly pretty good, but honestly, I don't even remember that much about it. Yeah, Deep Space Nine took off in the third season. Once they had the Defiant, they could do a lot more Trek-like stuff, like we're going to another planet, you know. And actually, you know, I liked Star Trek Enterprise. Maybe I'm the only one who did, but I liked it because it felt a lot like original Trek. Okay, this is interesting. We just like walked through a hall here. Let's go ahead and save. But it was like an original Trek. They were exploring. It's pretty cool. Pandemonium 7th floor. I feel like once you get to floor 7, you've got to be at the end, right? It's got to be the end. Spam attack here. You know, the thing is, I never met anyone who actually didn't like Waterworld. The critics didn't like it, and actually, half the critics really liked it, but it became one of the biggest commercial failures of all time. I'm guessing because... I think they just really overblew their budget. They had tons of practical effects, which were expensive. Yeah, they just really like overblew the budget in a big way. Yeah, I thought Enterprise was good, Brian, and maybe I was the only one. I think, you know, it was Rick Berman Trek, and I actually like Rick Berman Trek. Rick Berman, I felt like, is a good compromise between the kind of Trek that Gene Roddenberry really envisioned and what studios really wanted and what fans really enjoyed, which was things that were a little more dramatic, let's say. Gene Roddenberry really didn't want drama between the characters. He imagined these Paragon-like characters that just were, you know, from this future that... Oh, she lost all of her mana somehow. Well, let's go ahead and use an Ether so she has enough mana to Osmos. That's a fun thing there. Do you like Nolan movies? I do. I haven't seen one in a while. I never watched... what was the last one? I never watched Dunkirk. I stopped watching movies a couple years ago. Osmos. It goes into B-movie erotica at points out of nowhere? Does it? Vulcan erotica? Oh, I think I remember some of that stuff. I remember Linda Park, the girl who played the communications officer. I thought she was, like, super cute. Oh, a gold hairpin. That's what I got. Never hit that. I never hit that optimal button. Yeah, we'll put that on. I think it probably used the gold hairpin for him too, or whoever else. Genji helm is really good. Twist headband. I like the twist headband. We'll keep that on. All right. What's your equation for your reviews analysis? I have a video specifically on that. I'm not going to look it up right now, but I do have a video on that that explains it. A lot of people hate it because they want to just give a number based to how they feel, not like evaluate it like a teacher. Well, I'm a teacher, and if a student is giving you an assignment and they want to be graded on it, you really want the feedback to be centered around what is there, not just how you felt about something. Like, you may hate some character and he may, quote, ruin the movie, but that doesn't mean it's a zero movie because you didn't like one character. There's other things that are major accomplishments about movies, and you have to acknowledge those, including production work. Look at this ice Gigas. Let's try fire. And just attack. Should have seen 1917 in IMAX. Instead, I got roped into Frozen 2 with my kid. Still haven't seen Frozen 2. I really liked Memento. Memento was like... You know, Memento is one of those movies that... You know, you can never do it... You know, the first time is the best time, and you can never really repeat that experience. But yeah, Memento's great, and Memento's great because of the style, but it's really just because of the original composition of it. Like, oh, we're going to have a guy with short-term memory and just go backwards with the scenes, and you're like, well, that seems stupid, and it's like, yeah, but you execute it well, and it just like really pulls you through a movie. If you were to tell that story forwards, it just wouldn't, it'd be boring. So, we'll just spam attack here. Yeah, I imagine the best stuff in film and television will be coming from other countries soon. 8th floor. Alright. More of this ice gigas. No Satans at the top of this tower. Well, the bombs still are vulnerable to fire, I guess. Yeah, I mean, people vastly underestimate... oh, wait. Silly. Silly boy. People vastly underestimate the... like, execution. I don't know. I shouldn't say people. I get this frequently from people asking about, hey, here's this idea for this book. Is this a good idea? And it really comes down to execution. You know, I can give you lots of dumb ideas that are huge. It's like, okay, there's a bunch of kids at school, but they're vampires. You're like, well, that's retarded. And it's like, not only are they vampires, but they can walk in the sun. But the reason they don't is because they sparkle. So they go to a place that's cloudy all the time. It's like, that's really retarded. And it's like, this is one of the best-selling books of all time. Come on, I gotta get his Ultima up to level 12. You know, you wouldn't think that. Or it's like, I don't know, what's another best-selling one? It's like, Orphan finds out he's a wizard. It's like, that sounds really stupid. Like, here you go. There's a detective wizard that can only use a revolver because automatics don't work around magic. It's like, that sounds really dumb. It sounds like somebody's never held a gun in their life. It's like, yeah, but most of the readers haven't either. So it's all good. That's Dresden Files. I'm not a big fan of the Dresden Files. I guess some people really like them. I'm not interested in them. Acid File. No monster in a box that time. You had all these bosses in this level. Oh, Blue Dragon. Let's see if fire hits him. I know. See, Ultima has no resists. I think Flare is a dark magic. So Ultima is pretty cool because it can't be resisted. Let's see if fire hurts the blue dragons. Yeah, it does. So, pretty decent damage. I fought Tiamat already in this office stream, which was cool. So this is the first Final Fantasy that had Tiamat in it. And Tiamat absorbs all magic except for Ultima and Dark. So, you gotta hit him with Flare and Ultima, and that's like how you kill him. And otherwise, everybody else just stands around doing like almost no damage. Fire again. Let's try fire. We'll cure everybody up. Thunderbolt. I've enjoyed the Dresden Files a lot, but I wonder, do you have any other recommendations for urban fantasy? Highlander. Just the first movie. I mean, like, if you really are into the series, I watched the series as a kid, and I guess I enjoyed it, but I don't think it's very good, honestly. And most of the other movies really are not good. The first movie is really good, though, and it has a great soundtrack by Queen. So I do like Highlander. That's urban fantasy, but people don't really think of it as such. Back then, it was called contemporary fantasy. And that's what you did. Mm-hmm. Trying to think of other kinds. You know, the idea of urban fantasy, this is a rather new way of classifying a genre. So I'm not sure like what a good recommendation is. And I don't really like urban fantasy, so I don't really read it. You know. I mean, Vampire Chronicles could be considered urban fantasy. But we don't really think of it as that, even though that's basically what it is. And we're not trained to think of things in the same way. Fire Gigas. Oh, wait. Wait. Ah! I got recommended a romance novel on Amazon called Her Dragon Daddy, and it was a trip to check out that author's other stories. Problem with the Highlander sequels is they all retcon the previous installments, so the timeline is a mess. Yeah, everything's retconned. You know, it's like, you know, Highlander 2, they just pretend that one didn't exist. You have that one with Mario Van Peebles. Highlander, the final dimension? Again, I liked it as a kid, but it, you know, it's just another story that doesn't really need to exist. It's an unnecessary sequel. How did you learn about the efficient leveling in Oblivion? I do not remember reading anything about it in the instruction manual or the strategy guide. You can find out more about it on the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages, uesp.net. Where there's like a short article on it, but it's something that people knew about from using the game. Like, it's something that you had to figure out from the game itself. Not really it's not in the instruction manual, obviously. So. Makes you wonder how much they paid. You know, they paid Sean Connery $1 million to do 1 day of work for the first Highlander movie. He did 1 day of shooting and got paid $1 million. How cool is that? By cool, I mean cool for Sean. May he rest in peace. After Gina Carano was fired, James Gunn liked to tweet bashing her. Hypocritical much? Oh, yeah. I mean, he's the arch hypocrite. Like, he called for Roseanne to be canceled. He loves cancel culture, and then he gets canceled because, you know, of pedophile jokes. Basically, and it's only, you have to understand, there's no standard. The standard is, if they're my enemy, it's good to hurt them, and if they're my friend, it's bad to hurt them. So I'm a friend, it's bad to hurt me. It's, you know, Roseanne Barr was pro-Trump, so she's a enemy. It's good to hurt her. So I think the best things for Conan. Battlefront Films, I answered you already. There's a whole video on it. You'll have to find it. You can find it on, it's like my review. I think it's called like my review system explained. That's what it's called. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on stream to answer that again. And I explain it as I'm giving a review. So it's in the reviews too. So just, you can get it from there too. You mean a pedophile has no moral character? I will say, I don't think James Gunn is a pedophile. You know, South Park made lots of pedophile jokes. I don't think, including having kids get, like, blowjobs and stuff. I don't think Trey and Matt are pedophiles. Rather, I think that, especially in the late aughts, which is when James Gunn was doing all of those jokes, and there was lots of people doing those jokes, it was really about pushing the line. And that was like the last gasp of comedy. Especially after Trump. Like, after about 2015, comedy is dead. There's no good comedy left. Because it became impossible to push the line. There was nowhere left to push it, first of all, in one direction. And then at the same time, everybody became way too sensitive. So there really wasn't anywhere left to push comedy. Comedy died. I'm going to say 2014. After 2014, there's no more comedy. Not in America. Other countries, maybe. Not in America. So I don't think James Gunn's a pedophile. There's never been a case of him, like, being a sex pest or something like that. It may come out later, you know, and then that's what it is. But lots of people are making pedophile jokes, especially at the end. And some of the photographed tweets he didn't actually tweet. Because you used to be able to do this thing on Twitter where it made it look like other people tweeted it because of the way that displays worked. You can even do it now by editing the HTML on the page. I can make Brian I could take a photograph of Brian tweeting something that he didn't tweet that I tweeted, you know, just by like rearranging the HTML elements. So it's totally doable. But it doesn't really matter, you know. Let's cure everybody up here. It doesn't really matter because people were surprised that he got fired because it's usually liberals get a free pass. And he didn't get a free pass. Well, he got rehired. So actually liberals do get a free pass. And everybody else is, you know, a nobody. Speaking of cancel culture, how long do you think before the why America being created by our elites causes a predictable reaction and backlash? I mean, I think we're already there. Gamergate killed comedy hit pieces coming later this year. Yeah. It's great as long as it doesn't happen to me, is cancel culture. From James Gunn's perspective. Absolutely. I don't remember which one I came in at. I don't remember if I came in at the center or not. I guess we'll find out. Films of Mel Brooks could never be made today. No, they couldn't. Pratt does what Michael Malice suggests, which is keep quiet about what you really believe. Soviet survival technique. Absolutely. Now, is this going to take me to the top? Yes! Here we go, guys. I think we get to fight Satan. Which is like my dream in every game. It's to overthrow the Lord of Hell. Look at this epic sci-fi. Here he is. Here, let's we'll either up our guys here. So we have plenty of magic. And we will use our potions. Top everybody off here, since we have a lot of potions. I don't know, how many do I have? 53 left. Alright, here we go. Alright, here we go. You have braved the bowels of hell to reach me. But the hand of man which deals in false justice and forsaken love can never hope to defeat the Lord Master of Hell. Look at him. Look at this. Look at this graphic. This is awesome. Look at he's got snake hair. He's got an arm growing out. Is that an arm or just he's got tails? This is a pretty beastly looking demon here. All right, let's we are going to want to let's do aura here. And we're going to shell buff up real quick. Protect. Does this guy have any? Blink. We'll do blink. Diablo 4. I never touched Diablo, the mobile game, whatever the mobile game was. Let's see what 37 damage. See, this is the problem with the physical attacks. Is like you get to these high level guys and they just don't really do that much. We got Ultima going though. Ultima does a lot. You can see what his sprite is there. One shot. Wow. Well, let's get him up. I don't really know why, but I guess he can tank a hit. I gotta have some Phoenix down in here. Did I buy enough? Only have 17. Don't die more than 17 dimes, Lance. What do we got here? that works. We'll berserk everybody. We don't really have to keep him topped off since he got one shot. The actual Diablo 4 PC game ain't coming this year, so I don't care what Blizzard has to say. Everyone has AIDS. AIDS, AIDS, AIDS. As an international teacher, I never post my politics. Everyone around me are slightly right of Mao. If you're slightly right of Mao, you're definitely in trouble, because you really want to be Mao or to the left of him. Let's see here. Berserk. I think that's... We'll hit Berserk again. Ultima. Cure. Well, we'll just cure him up. Why not? Blink. Let's give yourself blink, dude. Highlander is set in Scotland, but the only actual Scottish actor in it is Sean Connery. And he played a Spaniard. That's true. Yeah, he was Egyptian, not a Spaniard. He was actually Egyptian. You find that out later. And then he he got a sword from Masamune in medieval Japan. Whoa! Phase 2 incoming. Will we survive the meteor impact? Oh, that didn't even hit that hard. Yeah, we'll be fine. We'll cure everyone up. Let's keep hitting Ultima. Double cure. Why not? Yeah, Captain Picard was supposed to be French, but was played by an English actor. Yeah, and then they just kind of made him English after a while. Yeah, and he's basically very French in the first couple seasons, and then he's just more British as they go on. He's just basically British. Yeah, they owned a vineyard, and they looked like some sort of caricature of a French wine peasant. I don't know. Is that Phoenix down? So you can still tank a hit, which is good. Ultima. See if the cure... Oh, I can't hit a cure. Let's see here. Haste. I love the Robin Hood where the only assholes who didn't try an accent was Robin Hood. Now, this was funny is that you can look up clips of Kevin Costner doing an English accent. When they started filming Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, he was doing an English accent, but it like wasn't working. So if you look it up sometime, it's pretty funny. It's not that it's like even that bad. It just feels really wrong. And so they just decided, you know what, dude, just do your normal accent. And I think Patrick Stewart actually defended that choice because he was like, back in the medieval period, they probably sounded more like Americans than like what today is the received pronunciation with the soft ah. They're kind of funny. I still like the movie. Can we slow him? Let's find out. Blink yourself. I can speak, like some Robin Hoods, I can speak with an English accent. Miss, can't slow him. Flare 16. Poor Lance. They did sound more like Americans up till the Victorian era. It's hard to know because we don't have like that many recordings. You know, experts have reconstructed, say, the accent from Shakespearean, like from Shakespeare's time, And it sounds weird, man. It's weird sounding. I have a student from England who's nearly impossible to understand now thanks to the mask. England has so many different accents. Sometimes you know, I've had friends who are English and like, it's like I can't understand anything they're saying. They're talking to another English person. I understand everything the other English person's saying. You know, they can understand each other. It's like they're from East London or something, and it's like, dude, you're not pronouncing half the letters. I don't know what you're saying. There's a couple, I mean, there's Irish accents like that where you're just like, what? You can go like, you could travel 30 miles in Ireland and hear like 8 different accents. There's like country accents and city accents and English accents and this accent and that accent. I mean, if you watch the original Star Wars, Leia is attempting an English accent. Carrie Fisher's attempting an English accent throughout the first half of the movie, and then it just goes away. Like, once they're really working with her, like, someone's like, just drop the... Don't worry about the English accent. Just got to keep Mary Sue up. Mary Sue is the linchpin. Elizabethans sounded like pirates. They sounded like pirates. You better start believing in ghost stories. You're in one. Costner's Robin Hood with the cast of folks who were either odd casting choices or firmly typecast. Morgan Freeman was in there somehow. Whoa. Are you familiar with Isaac Cappy? I don't think so. No. I guess Carrie wanted to sound more posh. Yeah. She wanted to sound... She was a princess. So she's like, I'm going to sound like the more star systems will slip through your fingers. And then, you know, that didn't really work, so... Let's see... She was probably too cooked up to be consistent. I didn't know if her like serious drug abuse started till later, but I don't know. She says she was drinking a lot even as a teenager. It's like not great parenting, in other words. So he's healing himself when he does that much damage. So you have to be doing damage like every single round. And heal this up. Sort of saw Leia doing a British accent, sort of mock the Empire, since many of them have that accent, and dropped it before Planet was blown up. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Alan Rickman basically played Hans Gruber again as the Sheriff of Nottingham. I feel like Alan Rickman ended up getting kind of typecast a lot. I mean, that's basically Snape. Snape was basically that too, I think. It was noted that she had to be fed lines in the later movies due to her hard drug use. Wow. Yeah, Morgan Freeman was there for Irish representation. See, that comes off as a joke in the movie, where it's like, I guess it's because I'm Irish. You know, it's just a joke that he's obviously not Irish, you know. Of course, he could be. Like, he could have Irish ancestry. I guess we'll cure him up. Isaac Cappy was an actor who claimed that Tom Hanks, Seth Green, Spielberg, James Gunn, Kathy Griffin, and others are pedos. He wound up dead in a suspicious alleged suicide. That's a big, that's a big swath there. I saw that Tom Hanks was trying to become a Greek citizen. Oh! He's going to cast his meteor. His meteor power. This is another phase. Keep hoping, like, at one of these points he'll like, die here. But didn't seem to be working. Alright. No, we want cure. Leia looked like my older sister, so I never found her attractive. You clearly don't spend a lot of time on 4chan. What's his name from Thin Lizzy was a black Irishman, and that he was black and lived in Ireland. I think his mother was actually white Irish. You know, actual Irish. Irish. There are black people that live in Ireland. Berserk faded or not. I can't tell what he's got going on. Is there like a status? Wait. Let's cure him up. Ultima. We'll hit both of those guys. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to know. People, here's the thing about, like, quote, allegations. People made all kinds of allegations against President Trump that didn't stick because they were bullshit. And done, or Judge Kavanaugh. Like, these things happen. And just because someone makes an allegation doesn't really mean anything. It's like, yeah, we all want to believe Hollywood has pedophiles because there are pedophiles in Hollywood and there's been sexual abuse problems. Doesn't mean every single actor is in on it. I'm not going to go that far. Remember the pet store owner in the first Store movie? That was Isaac Cappy. Really? So Luke has force powers. He knew. Gay for pay is also big in Hollywood. Yes. It's also really big in bodybuilding. People will pay big money to sleep with an attractive man. Look at that, full mana. They are more likely to be guilty of it compared to, like, a standard person, for sure. Doesn't mean they are likely to be guilty in an absolute sense. Ultima. Actually, she should Osmos. I'm sure he has enough MP. I have a Berserk. Berserk him too. And blink him. She looked good with blonde dreads and gone in 60 seconds. I think Angelina Jolie's good looking, but she's an example of like a photographed kind of person, a person who is photographic. You know, the big lips and all that stuff. That's, if you meet her in person, it's a different experience. It's that way with a lot of models. I've met a lot of models in person, and They look profoundly different often. Not nearly as attractive as you would think they are, given that they're models. I think we took all of his MP. I think he can't do any more magic attacks. That's cool. We need more Mel Gibson in Hollywood, yeah. Mel Gibson's slightly crazy too, though. But I kind of in a way I like. He's just one-shotting him. Alright, fine. We have now... This is going to be like the 5th time we've raised him from the dead. Well, that hurt. You think more people would watch movies again if they were more like short novellas? Love to see 40-minute films with short backgrounds to set up climax. They used to do more of that, but I don't know. I think people just want things that are high quality. Man, this guy is just... It's like I'm rezzing him just for him to, like, tank a hit. Kind of where we're at now. Marisu really needs to not die. He's the only person doing like consistent damage here. Although Sam Hyde's doing a lot of damage. You know, we need to heal up here. Are we gonna be able to kill this guy? He's like this boss is so much harder than everything else in this game. Everything else in this game is super easy compared to this final boss here. Oh my gosh. Like, he's just ridiculously more difficult than everything else in the game. I need to like put blink on so he'll miss more. Let's just attack him, and you can, I have a bunch of elixirs. Use that on her. Why not? Oh, I meant to heal up Alex. Oh well. He might die. Cure yourself, bro. Let's go Ultima. And actually, I really want you to attack. See what else we got going on here. Let me actually use Berserk, like just use the Berserk Tome. Like buff her intelligence up. Tom Hanks posted a weird Twitter joke about roadkill on Route 66 shortly before Cappy died by supposedly jumping off a bridge and getting hit by a truck on Route 66. That's a little weird. I don't, you know, it's... Oh, I think we got him. Think we got him. Yes. Think we got him. We killed the devil himself. Yes, he's turning to red crystals.
Unbelievable! Defeated by insects like you. Not once, but twice. Who are you? Ah! Now we can sit upon the throne of hell. It's done! Now let's get out of here!
Bum. It's finally over, isn't it? It was a long struggle, but with the Emperor gone, we've nothing left to fear. Thank you. With all my heart, I thank you. With the combined strength of Kashwan and Finn, we will build the kingdom anew. Together, Princess, we will create a kingdom even fairer than the old. Though once a coward, I now stand here a new man. I have all of you to thank for that. You have my deepest gratitude. I'm sure Scott is smiling down on me from above. Sir Scott. Oh, here's Paul. Look at you. You realize what you've done? Who am I supposed to steal from with the Empire gone? You put me out of a job. I guess I'll just have to start stealing from you. Better watch your backs. You sure showed them, Alex Jones. You're every bit the bloke I pegged you for. If you ever feel like trying your hand at pirating... What? That'd not sit well with you, Marisou. Looks like your next battle's already begun, Alex Jones. You did it. I'm sure my dad's happy for you too, up there above the clouds. I'm going to be working here, serving the princess. I just want to do whatever I can to help out. That's the girl of the guy from the Snow Village who gave his life. Joseph! He sacrificed himself. We must now dedicate ourselves to the task of restoring what was lost. Farewell. Words cannot express my gratitude to you all. I love that these avatars are actually like the Yoshitaka Amano avatars, by the way. They're really heavily based on his concept art, which I have some of it in the other room. War finally over? Sam Hyde says. Yes. We can live in peace again, together. dot dot dot. Right, Lance? For us, there could be no going back. But why? I love this sad version of her, you know? Don't go, Alex Jones, stop him. Marisou, Lance is right. We've been through too much. I can't stop him. Not now. Lance, we will meet again. Except there's no sequel to this game, so they don't. The ghosts, including Sid's ghost. Sid is like, I want my airship back when you're done, and then he dies. Thanks, Sid. Well, we should be going too. This is only the beginning. I love that. I love it when heroes ride off into the sunset. Their long struggle was finally at an end. The Emperor. Pandemonium. The monsters plaguing the world. I love the pixel art on this. It's just great. All had vanished without a trace. Peace had returned once more. Look at the doves! White doves. The wounds of the war would mend. And the memory of those bitter days would fade. But one thing would never be forgotten. That a band of young heroes once saved the world. Final Fantasy II. Shinji Hashimoto. That's not a picture of him. Yoshitaka Amano. Nobuo Uematsu. I really like the music in this game, actually, too. I think, considering he reused so little from the first game, it was just a great soundtrack. Hiroyuki Mira. Mieko Hashino. Tsutomu Muri. Okay. Effect designers. Background design supervisors. These guys are really important. Monster design. That's actually very important. Coordinator. Publicity division. I got my names on the credits because I'm in charge of publicity. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. Our next game protagonist is gonna be Mel Gibson, yeah? Yeah, we can do we'll do like Chad actors. We'll have like Mel, Chuck, so like Chuck Heston, Clint. I don't know if there's a girl character. We'll look. We'll see what we do. I've never no. I think is there one girl or can you? I don't remember. We'll look at what we can do. It's been a while. I don't really remember. I haven't played this version since like the aughts. When it was on DS. Where's my DS? Do I have it here? Marvelous Nintendo DS. Still a great system. Fits in your pocket. You can load pretty much all your games on a flash cart and just have all your games in it. That's what I have, which is great. Of course, you can do that on the 3DS as well. Get all your DS games, put them on a flash cart, and play them on your 3DS. That way you don't have to deal with Twilight menu, which is kind of buggy. Dude, Gina, yeah. Or we can do like bodybuilders. And now, see, the thing is, the Final Fantasy III has this kind of chibi aesthetic. Like, if you play Bravely Default, it's very similar to that aesthetic, the 3D version of Final Fantasy III. So, calling them like, naming them like Franco and Arnold would probably not really work. They don't look it. Walter Brame. By the way, it's not going to be as smooth on your screen as it actually is on the Vita. Like there's like a slight frame rate difference with the broadcast. So if it looks like it looks better on the Vita. So if you play it on a PlayStation Vita, it looks really good, or a PSP. Uematsu, Mitsuda, and Sakamoto are probably my favorite composers in all of music. Yeah, they're great. I think there's a ton of great soundtracks just from Japan in general. I think they have a different approach. I think they educate their composers differently. Because I possess a degree in music composition, I know that in other countries they actually teach people how to compose. In the US, I met so many composers that like didn't know anything. They're like, oh yeah, my composition is scotch tape on a CD. The sound of CD skipping. That's the music. It's like, this is really dumb, dude. No one's gonna hire you. No, the university will hire me for 100 grand to teach three classes a semester because I'm going tenure track. Yeah, I love Final Fantasy IX's soundtrack. It's great. Is Final Fantasy XI still up? If there's still servers, maybe I'll play that this year. Kind of ironic how a game called Final Fantasy has so many sequels. Yeah. Gina Carano did some interesting interviews lately. She came across very down-to-earth and cheerful with slight flirtiness. She communicates with ordinary YouTubers and such. Yeah. Adam Sandler might be a Republican, but because he's Jewish, like he may get a pass. Like if you're Republican and Jewish, you generally get a pass for it. I don't know why, but that's kind of how it is. The end. We beat it. Save game clear data, yes. Allow you to play bonus dungeons and browse the art gallery freely, yes. There we go. Guess that's it for tonight, boys. You know, after I beat a Final Fantasy game, I just have this mood that comes over me where I'm like, I just want to like sit there and stare at, listen to the harp theme and like stare at the menu. I remember after I beat Final Fantasy 13, I just like, I beat it with my son. My son was like playing around with me and he's like, let's finally beat this game. So we beat it and like, I just sat there like listening to music for a while. I'm like, that was really fun. We beat a game, dude. And it was a long, long game. That was not a short game. Final Fantasy 13 was like 70 hours or something. It was huge. I do like Final Fantasy 13 though. I think Final Fantasy 13 actually has one of the best scores. But yeah, I can't think of a Final Fantasy game that doesn't have good music. Like they really usually do a great job with the music. Oh yeah, the Final Fantasy VII locker room music is good. The remake on Final Fantasy VII has pretty much everything going for it. It's got great graphics, great music. It's just great in general. Well, we'll watch the movie again. I think this is the intro movie. We'll watch the intro movie and then that's going to be... We'll call it a night. It's pretty late. Sandler was excellent in Uncut Gems. I kept getting advertised at Uncut Gems to vote for it for an Oscar. Like, somehow I was getting, like, Academy advertising material sent to me. Someone thought I was part of the Motion Picture Academy of America somehow. Like some marketer like lined up things and was like, this person might be in the Academy. We'll send him something. Because you're not supposed to like know. You go to like the movie theaters in LA and there's advertisements for Oscars, like vote for this for Oscars in the lobbies of movie theaters in LA. I remember that all the time. I'd go there and be like, this is an ad to vote for this movie for an Oscar. It's like, that's weird. It's like, no, but you know, we lived in El Segundo, so there would be people. There's people that were in the MPAA were like our neighbors, you know. So, of course, that would be wise to advertise where you know that they live. It's like all the screenwriters live in El Segundo. Let's have some advertising over there. Log Cabin Republican. I don't think I know what that means anymore. I thought Log Cabin Republican meant that you were gay or something. But Adam Sandler's not gay. It's a cool little intro movie. Yeah, now we could kill the knights. This is supposed to show your characters, but like they're whatever class you want. So like one's kind of a thief and one's kind of a warrior, and it's cool music. Yeah, this is a remake of the original was NES, but it never was released in English. So this is one of the only ways that I can actually play this in English, like with an official translation. It's Marisu, the hero of our story. Their town is burning. That was a great game, though. I really enjoyed Final Fantasy II. So, overall, I think it was a great game. And hope you guys had fun playing it with me a little bit. I liked the leveling system. I will say that there wasn't, because I was able to, I guess, cheese the leveling system a little bit, because I knew how it worked. It made most of the game rather trivial, except for the final level and really the final boss. The final boss was the only thing that kind of was difficult in any sense. And another thing that's really kind of funny is like I was clearing packs in the final dungeon that were dropping like 20,000 gil per pack, and it's like, I guess you could teleport out of the dungeon and like go spend the gil on something, but at the end of the game, there's not that much to spend gil on. You can buy elixirs, which will totally refill your health, but that's kind of it. There's not that much else to do. So yeah, I'll give a review of the game. Probably it'll come out next week. I have another Storycraft coming out tomorrow, I think, because we did the Gina Carano thing like late last night. So I don't like to. If you release two videos too close together in YouTube, then YouTube won't show people the second video if it's like within the same 24 hours. I've kind of tested it out. So if you have like one per day, or like they're spaced out by more than 12 hours, then you're probably good. But if you're doing multiple videos in a day where they go live in the same day, you're gonna have like way less views on the second one you do. So anyway, have you checked out Odyssey? I have not. Replaying Final Fantasy 12 at the moment. Love 12. 12 is one of my favorites. It probably is my favorite gameplay. If I'm being honest, I really like the gameplay of 12, especially the Zodiac job system, which has a lot of the game part of it is pretty easy to manage if you understand the leveling system and everything, and you could just really like wreck that final boss without too many problems. But I love that you have that challenge mode in the PS4 version, or the new. You can get it for PC actually too. I'll probably play it on PS4 because I already own it on PS4, so I don't care about buying it on PC. Although I could like pump up the graphics, and that might be cool. So I like the gameplay of Final Fantasy 12 the best of the mainline games, and yeah, I do like the classic turn-based combat. I actually like Final Fantasy 13 style gameplay. Those three games, I like them. Final Fantasy 14, I didn't like the gameplay, and I never finished the game because I didn't really like the gameplay, and I really didn't like the aesthetic direction, so I didn't end up finishing it. But I'm gonna play it again for this series, so we'll get there. You should post community polls. I hear it really boosts you in the algorithm. Someone did a video on this. I do from time to time, but I'm not gonna post polls unless like it's something that I care about. You know. Oh, okay, yeah. You know, BitChute already pulls in my YouTube stuff too. I don't know. I might check it out. If I don't have to like double upload too much, like as soon as you start having to upload to 10 different sites, it becomes such a burden that you just have to pick. And it's just not worth my time to upload to Dailymotion, for instance. You get like 2 views on Dailymotion and like 20,000 on YouTube. It's like, why would I even bother with Dailymotion? You wouldn't. So, but I appreciate that input. I really do, Hardwick. So I'll check it out. I like the combat in 15. Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking about 15. I haven't played 14 because it's an MMO and I couldn't get anyone to play with me. But I'll probably play 14 this year too. So yeah, 15 I didn't really like the combat that much, and I really didn't like the aesthetic direction. 14, however, I do like the aesthetic direction, so I'll go with that one too. So there's 3 different. I'll do another video on this. Like people ask, which Final Fantasy game should I start with? And so at the end of the stream, I guess I'll answer that by saying there's no wrong place to start. All of them are good games to start with, and each one has a different appeal to different players for different reasons. So it really depends what kind of game you want. I'm going to break down Final Fantasy into a couple of different eras that that'll set up your expectations correctly. So the first era is the classic era. That is 1 through 6, NES and SNES. And of course, the remakes are going to basically fit in this with a couple of exceptions. So if you're playing the original versions of 1 through 6, those have 2D graphics and turn-based combat. The remakes of 3 and 4 have 3D graphics, so they actually fit into the second category, which is what I call the Golden Age ones, which is 7, 8, 9. This is when Final Fantasy was a huge system-selling phenomenon on the... I don't even know if it was a system seller on the PlayStation, but it was huge. Final Fantasy VII just exploded. People who had never played RPGs before played those 3 games and loved them, and that's going to be 7, 8, 9, and 10. Those have turn-based combat, like the classic, so they have classic combat, but they have 3D graphics, more complex environments, and they, by the time you get to 5 and 6, you're having a more involved story, like a more complex story. Really, I mean, Final Fantasy II stepped up the story from Final Fantasy 1. Each one got a more complex story, but 7, 8, 9, 10 had a really epic feeling to the stories. 6 does too, but 6 has those 2D graphics. 6 might really be my favorite. It's just a great game. So if you're going to pick classic or like Golden Age, the best, in my opinion, there's no wrong one to start with. Like, you could start with the NES one and get a view of history. It depends what you want. If you want classic NES experience, yeah, play the NES version of number 1. If you want the best presentation and story in 2D graphics and stuff, it's Final Fantasy VI. And if you want the one that's the easiest to get into, it's the American version of Final Fantasy IV, because it has a little bit lower difficulty level, but it still has the same story and the same aesthetics, and it's still a really good game. So if you are worried that you are not good enough at RPGs, if you've never played one before, Final Fantasy IV is a great one to start with. It has a great story. If you want the best presentation overall, I think it's 6 from the classic period. If you're going to go like Golden Age, my favorite is number 9, but I actually think the best one to start with might actually be 10. It has a great aesthetic direction. It's voice acted, but it still has the classic combat. It has a great story in general, very memorable and mostly likable characters. The voice acting is not perfect, but it's definitely good enough to carry the game. And you start to, with the PlayStation 2, get more pleasing 2D graphics. And the remake actually looks pretty good as well. I have the remake on PS4. After that, you get the modern Final Fantasies. And if you want modern gameplay, then modern Final Fantasy. And that starts with 12. So that's 12, all 3 of the 13s. Of course, Final Fantasy X-2 is still more like, it's turn-based combat with some variations. And then you have, 13 trilogy, 15, which has action RPG combat, and Final Fantasy VII Remake is a modern game. So if you want a modern experience, I actually think it just depends what kind of gameplay you want. If you want tactical gameplay, Final Fantasy XII. Final Fantasy XII also has, to me, the most engaging world. If you want the best aesthetics, it's probably 13. I'll come out on a limb and say that. If you want the best combination of all of those, the best story, aesthetics, combat, it's probably the Final Fantasy VII Remake, the one that came out last year. It's really good. It's really fun to play. The story definitely, I think, sucks you in with the remake. The production quality is top notch. There's some hammy acting, even from the guy who does Bender's voice. His name escapes me, but there's a couple hammy acting things here and there, and it's not perfect, but it's really good, and so it's definitely enough fun to suck you into it. Final Fantasy VII, I think, is one of the most poorly aged ones. It was great when it came out. People really loved it. It really sucked people in. It made people imagine, and they loved the aesthetics, but it hasn't aged well graphically, and the gameplay's fine, and the story's still fine, but the graphics are definitely not very pretty to look at in 2021. So maybe start with 10 if you want to do Golden Age stuff, not 7, just because 7 really, in my opinion, hasn't aged nearly as well as 8. Well, really, 9 and 10 I think have both aged really well. I don't think 8's aged quite as well, and 7 really hasn't aged that well, but they're all good. So there's no wrong place to start. It depends what you want. If you want that high 90s, more modern like 3D graphics, but still turn-based combat, go with one of those. And then if you want the classic experience, Final Fantasy VI is the best overall presentation, in my opinion. So there you go. Odyssey's monetization pays with a cryptocurrency. Already hate it. The site's founder says he misses the internet's Wild West days and wants to help bring them back. It's one of the things I hated about Mines is they started trying to come up with their own crypto token. These things it's basically like store credit to a store that you can't buy anything at. Pay me at a cryptocurrency that everybody wants. I've gone over this. I said this a million times. Consumers prefer few standards, not many standards. I can't pay people with Dogecoin. They don't want it. They're like, I want American money, or I want like metal. Or I'll take Bitcoin because I hear Bitcoin's worth money. So basically, if it's not one of those, people don't want it for money. That's just the reality. I think 10's aged pretty well, actually. As good as any of the ones in that period, for sure. But you have to think early 3D is rough. It really is. So early 3D has a lot of rough edges to it. So I think, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10. I think 10's aged the best of those 4, but 9's aged really good too. If you play it with Magiri mod, which I'm going to do, then it's definitely aged really well. So anyway, guys, I really appreciate it. I'm going to probably hang it up here tonight because it's getting on here. I do appreciate you hanging out with me and chatting with me. And I'll see you guys on Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Whatever time zone you happen to be in, that's the time that it's going to be. So I'll see you guys then, and hope you guys have a great one. If you've been following me for a while, the last couple weeks, my mother-in-law is still basically in critical condition. She's not doing well. We have another thoracic doctor who is going to try some more extreme interventions over the weekend. So we're praying that those will work and will help with her fluid retention issues. And basically we have to do something, because if it goes on any longer, it's just going to be a slow slide into multiple organ failure and death. So something has to change. So we're praying that will work over the weekend. If you want to pray too, I would appreciate it, but that is according to your faith and your inclination to think about my family. So we're still very worried about it. It's still very dramatic. There's other drama going on with my family too that I don't need to get into, but that's the main one, is that my mother-in-law is still not doing any better. Basically, she's intubated and completely sedated because they put a feeding tube, I think it's called a duodenal feeding tube. They go all the way down into your intestines because of the anesthesia, she was throwing everything up. She hadn't had any nutrition since surgery. Or like a couple bites of oatmeal, and that's it. So they put in a feeding tube, and that's like pretty extreme. But just hoping that she'll turn a corner here. And doctor said it's like 50-50 maybe, but it'll get worse if we don't do something. So anyway, that's that. And I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and I'll see you all next time.